Do I like this angle? I'm not sure I like this angle. How do I look? Should I be like preparing myself for these videos more? Looking all right. Come on. Handsome. All right. Listen, this is number 7, episode 7, as it were, the 100 book challenge. I'm just like poo, 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 knocking these books back. That was violent. That was aggressive. We're going to move on from that. Number 7, read so far in my still very single digit 100 book challenge. We're getting there. This is a good one. This is Dark Tales by Shirley Jackson. This is a collection of 17 short stories spanning quite a bit of her career. Known maybe most of all as the author of a short story called The Lottery, which I was compelled to read in school. And I remember that being like, ooh, that's pretty good, actually. Who's this Shirley Jackson person? And then I learned that she had written the original novel that was the Robert Wise movie The Haunting, which was like one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And then I was like, oh, she must be really awesome. And then just nothing. Did not read her, did not even think about her until much later. I ran across a copy of The Haunting of Hill House, which I have over there, and I should have probably brought with me. And then I read it not too long ago, well, years ago already. But, right, wow. So started reading some more Shirley Jackson, but not enough. It's been too long. I grabbed this book it was on my list, like my Amazon list. And then I was in a bookstore here in the Seattle area, and there it was, independent bookstore. Boom. This is the Penguin Classics edition. Ooh, so good. Just really, 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 really good. It's kind of interesting to me, right? Maybe a bit unsettling, actually, right? That some of these stories appear to have first been published well after Shirley Jackson's death in 1965. Might be worthy of further study, that question, right? Because did she intentionally shelve these stories? I might as well hold the book up so you have something to look at. In which case, this is me. I tend to believe, like, if the author is like, I didn't get there with this, I'm not sending this out, then we should respect that and just let that go. Or was it, try as she might, she just couldn't find a home for these back in, the 50s, 40s, 50s, when she was really writing a lot and really active and well known, right? Being published in some great places. I don't know. But in any case, as I read this along, and it took me a while to read it because I was kind of reading one story and then it would be like days later I'd read another story. But as I went along, I jotted down a sentence or two, like sort of like a line from a story or just my super brief, like first blush thoughts of it right after finishing reading it. Just kind of as I went along in Goodreads just to have that. And so let's do that. Let's look at the stories in Dark Tales by Shirley Jackson in order. I shouldn't be covering my mouth. We will be reading the Shirley Jackson story, Batman. That was just not good. That was not good. And don't tip your head like this. Professional YouTube television. What am I doing? These are the sentences. These are the little bits of thoughts that I put down for Dark Tales by Shirley Jackson as I was reading along. How much of that do I need to cut out and hope that no one will republish after I die. The Possibility of Evil, right, which is first seen in the Saturday Evening Post December 18th, 1965. This one dives into the existential dread of the busybody old lady, like straight up. I couldn't help think it read like a Stephen King story. To me, it really did. Which then made me realize that Stephen King stories actually sound a lot like Shirley Jackson stories. That only becomes more apparent later on. This line I had to write down. I had to keep this in my commonplace book file that I keep. Nothing is hard to do unless you get upset or excited about it. First published in Ladies' Home Journal, but I'm not sure exactly when. This is the story, Louisa, Please Come Home. I found this devastating. The story is devastating. Paranoia is creepy as hell, right? This one was written in the early 40s, but not published until 2013 in the New Yorker. Go figure. Why not the New Yorker, right? The Honeymoon of Mrs. Smith has the creepy, ambiguous ending. Fantastic. Like others here, it appears to have first been published in the 1997 collection Just an Ordinary Day. The cover looks like that. I accidentally skipped a story. I missed the story we used to tell. This was also from Just an Ordinary Day. This one felt rushed to me, a little incomplete, right? It felt like it was like an idea for a novel that wasn't fully realized. This got me now I'm really thinking about, was this a story that wasn't there yet, that she didn't know how to sort of get a handle on? Maybe this was going to be longer, maybe this was going to be a novel, and it sat in a drawer and then ended up in Just an Ordinary Day. I don't know. The Sorcerer's Apprentice is a short but deeply unsettling story that was written in the 40s, but as with Paranoia, not published until 2013, in this case in McSweeney's. Could you hear me crack my knuckle right there? This is all just, this is just, this is dark. This is a dark YouTube video about a book called Dark Tales. Jack the Ripper, also from Just an Ordinary Day, was terribly creepy, but here's a question. Is the title a spoiler? Do you want to talk about that? We should talk about that at some point, authors. Yeah? Careful of those titles sometimes. The Beautiful Stranger is a small story that carries immense emotional weight. Apparently this was first published in the 1968 collection Come Along With Me. I think this is a later edition of it, but that's okay. All She Said Was Yes, published in Vogue in 1962. This is the greatest example of gallows humor I've ever read in my life. Delightfully creepy. Yes. What a thought. This one again from Just an Ordinary Day. Okay. The sentence. An odd thought crossed her mind. She would pick up the heavy glass ashtray and smash her husband over the head with it. From the Saturday Evening Post, March 1965, The Bus perfectly encapsulates the loneliness, frustration, and futility of aging. Family Treasures is actually a fun taste of dark academia. May not have surfaced until the 2015 collection Let Me Tell You. The first line of the story, A Visit. The house in itself was, even before anything happened there, as lovely a thing as she had ever seen. For me, that really echoes Shirley Jackson's opening paragraph of The Haunting of Hill House, doesn't it? Which is the greatest opening paragraph in the history of literature, period. Anyway, that story, A Visit, was originally published as, or under the title The Lovely House in New World Writing in 1952. So I will admit I had a little trouble connecting with The Good Wife, but that may be because I read it on a Monday morning with a lot of work distractions buzzing around in my head. Anyway, that's another from Just an Ordinary Day. Okay, this is a really good one. In the classic ghost story Home comes a line that for me just screams Shirley Jackson. Ethel Sloan had no intention of antagonizing the villagers by hiring an unpopular plumber. Yes, right? Ladies' Home Journal, August 1965. This one, I think, and the next story really must have inspired a young Stephen King. And in this case in particular, this is the last story. Last story in the collection, The Summer People, in which a couple exactly the same age as my wife and I are now make a choice to stay on in their summer home past Labor Day and find out the hard way that there are rules here, summer people. This was published in a magazine called Charm in September of 1950. Shirley Jackson, just fantastic. I mean, honestly, one of the great American authors, period. This whole anthology, it seems to share a theme, like for me at least, this is kind of, you go into a book as yourself and you come out as yourself with like the ghost of the author and other ideas and things happening there, right? So your interpretation absolutely may and absolutely can obviously vary. But for me anyway, this really seemed like it was sort of ended up being a book about the terror of the inevitability of hearth and home, right? Or the terror of seeing that closed off. It's as though, like a family in or inside of a house, like a house as metaphor for a family, or, right? A container or a prison almost for a family. It's a prison that no one can escape from, right? But that no one can help but walk themselves into. I don't know. Anyway, absolute, full-throated, entirely unreserved recommendation. Dark Tales, stories by Shirley Jackson. Buy it, read it, love it. Yes. So then, what happens next? This is number 7, 7% of the way through the 100-book challenge. Normally, I would then show you the next book I'm going to read, but I've been already reading this as sort of an extra book that was tacked on the end. I was currently at 9, or was at 9 books when I was still reading before I just finished Dark Tales. That feels like maybe a couple too many, one too many at least. So instead of, just sort of going to a new work of literature, so this would be, sort of my primary fiction book. So fiction, like this, short story collection or anthology, a novel, poetry or a play, right? I'm just going to bump Eclipse, a novel of Lewis and Clark by Richard S. Wheeler, which I've been reading. I'm only like a teeny way in still, and really liking this. It really surprises me. It just right away, I was kind of like, oh, all right, so that's kind of the prologue, and then but it went into some interesting territory. And so this is going to be now sort of primary fiction, and we'll start, putting some more time and effort into this. Anyway, then, that was number 7 of 100. What will be number 8? We're going to have to come and find out. We don't know. But anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks for following along with this. Tell your friends. Comment, like, share. Subscribe. I'll wait while you hit the subscribe button.